It's hard to get through that second part without taking a big. Anyway, that's the theme song. How you doing? Yeah. ADL Driftwood podcast with your host Dave. Dave. Yeah, it's a day in the life of the Driftwood douche. I was going to say another word there that I paused before it came out of my mouth because I thought, monetization on YouTube. However, I'm putting this on a channel that's not even monetized, so we're starting from scratch. Started an Instagram account yesterday for this thing. That was a pretty exciting experience, and I'll get into that. Anyway, how you doing? Good talking at you. I just want to catch up. This is the third one of these that I've done, and I find that they're hit and miss. It's kind of like my golf swing. I don't know. I listen back to them. I think, I revealed too much, or I rambled too much. I wasn't super excited with the my Keith Urban one that I did. However, I like the premise, talking about big, sexy hooks. But I thought that I kind of went into it too loose and too unprepared. Anywho, let's just continue. I'm putting on yet another coffee and sticking with the format where we kind of give an update at the beginning and then move on to a more focused kind of musical approach. With some kind of topic at the second half. I'm gonna shoot for the first half right now to kind of catch you up and myself up on what's been going on, because I am feeling sheepish. I'm feeling like I did a thing, and I think we know what that thing is. You did it. You drank, didn't you? Yes, I did. Let's just pour this little cafe in here. Dude. And I'll tell you about what's been going on because, I'm feeling kind of guilty about this. And as I should. So it's Monday, and you always want to start a Monday, going into the week. That ought to be a good little ratio. You want to start a Monday going into the week kind of fresh as a daisy, right? Let's go. Let's crack at it. Do you? Or do you want to sleep in late with a big boozy hangover and kind of blow the whole morning wide open and feel horrible and guilty as your family's all left and you're lying in bed sweating? Which one would you like? The fresh as a daisy or the lying in bed sweating? Which one do you think I just experienced? So this is, I don't want to do this, but I kind of feel like I need to. I feel like if I come clean and fess up right now, this is the lifestyle. I mean, who wants to see or listen to or take part in someone's life who every day they're just killing it? I'm just crushing it. Oh, is there anything more annoying? So let's back it up a little bit. A week ago, we were getting ready to go to a big party for a 70th birthday party. And we were going to stay in a hotel, and it was all paid for. It was like, of course we're going to do this. And our kids came with us, and they had a sitter stay with the kids so we could go downstairs and be the full booze heads that we could be. And it was great with the singing at the end with the Doobie Brothers, and the guitars came out, and everyone there was like, the ratio of musicians was very high. A lot of great musicians there, great vocalists. Everyone's a singer. Had a great party. Did we indulge? Oh Lord. It was funny because I looked around and I was the only guy on the beer, because after a certain age, people just switch to wine. The biggest beer drinkers, they all switch to wine. And these guys, all the dudes were doing wine and then whiskey. And, I get broken on that stuff. So on whiskey. So I'm the beer boy, man. And I've got the torso that reflects it. And that's the battle that I'm always fighting. People are like, well, why do you like it? What is it about it that you like? And I'm like, I think you know what it is I like about it. I like the whole ritual. I like the first taste of it, the coldness on my lips. I like how it's so good when it hits your lips. I like that buzz that you get after the first one, like just when the coffee's kicking in, it's booze. You're like, all right, we're going to go down this road. We know what's happening next. Put on the Tom Petty, get the albums out, get the Spotify. It's a ritual, and it relaxes me, and it takes my brain to a different place, and I like that place. It's party zone. It's the place where I go to play music and forget about all my stresses. But there's an unfortunate side to it as well, which is that when you souse your brain in alcohol continually, you kind of change the chemistry of your brain, and it's a depressant. And then the next day you feel depressed and horrible, and you beat yourself up over doing it. And that's the vicious cycle that I have been on for 20 years now, and I keep trying to quit. I did a month off last year in right around this time. And then I was like, I'll creep back onto it, just have a little one or something. And it builds up and builds up and because it becomes habitual. So in the last one, I was saying how I had stepped on the scale and I'd gone up. At my best, I was 79 kilograms. We're not going to get in the pounds, kilograms. All right, let's just stick to kilos, okay? If you're that curious about the math, you do it in Google. I'm not going to bore you with typing it into my phone. The scale's down here, kilograms. So anyway, I had gone up to 84. It creeped its way back up there. And that's even with just basically eating 2 meals a day, just lunch and dinner, and trying not to snack. But of course, you loosen up on all the rules and bad habits creep in, junk food creeps into the house. You start hitting the booze more often. And that's just what happens. And suddenly your clothes are not fitting as well, but in the wrong direction. It was such a great experience as things were getting looser. And now it's like, oh, that belt notch is getting pretty tight. So I said to myself, my wife hates that joke. It's such a dad joke. Anyway, I thought, okay, I'm going to try and clean it up. And we're going to do this party, which was now 1 whole week ago. And after the party, we're going to get onto a good track, get a good run. No booze, no junk food, no this and that. And my wife was in on it with me. And so it's always great if you can have somebody to kind of make the commitment and take the ride with you. Can you imagine? And I'm sure a lot of people go through this where they're in a household or a relationship and saying, okay, I want to lose some weight. I want to clean up my lifestyle or get off this addiction. And the partner is saying, so I'm just getting the coffee here. And the partner is like, yeah, well, good luck with that. I'm going to keep eating junk food and getting Uber Eats every second night and, carrying on my $150 a week alcohol and cigarette habit. You wouldn't have much of a chance. So it's always good to get on the same page together. And I watched my wife last year lose just all her baby weight. It was insane. Her transformation was much more remarkable than my little tub of guts, which went from hugely embarrassing to just kind of an average guy at this point. Not really spectacular, but compared to the old meathead that I was carrying around for about 10 years prior to that, it did look better. But she did really well. And so together we are taking our weight loss journey. So anyway, I know what I just did. So I put a list on the fridge. I'm going to read you the list, okay? In the no list, we said, so this is after the big birthday, the big 70th, and we're driving home and we're like, oh God, that is rough. Both of us are rough. We were like, okay, it starts today. We came home, had a nice dinner. We're like, let's go into the week good. I put this list on the fridge. On the no side, no booze, no hot sauce, no sauces even. Ketchup and mustard, forget it. Chips, chocolate, ice cream, nope. No fast food, no sugar. I can tell you I've done every one of those in the past 7 days. And then the yes foods was just all the things that we were going to try and make our meals out of. Protein foods with very little carb, because that does work. Cut down on the carbs, you cut down on, you will drop weight. It's just proven. So try and just portion that. Doesn't mean that I did it, okay? Do as I say, not as I do, all right? Me, I can eat like a baby at a birthday party, okay? That's me. That's fine for me. For you, okay, be careful on those carbs. So yeah, I did every one of those. It's the week, as usual, the week started out good, and you know what, it was very pious on Monday, and I think I've talked about this in the previous one, because I was checking in kind of late last week. That's right, because the last one I did, I was sipping a beer in the afternoon. I was like, oh yeah, I can do this. I can have one beer. I've been such a good boy, you know, a couple of little, peanut butter and jams at nights. That's nothing. I'll just have a little beer in the afternoon. Well, actually, I didn't go whole hog, because that's the dangerous one. Whenever you hear a booze head say they're just going to have one, forget it. They're calling in sick to work tomorrow. It's not working. I remember one episode where the best one I ever saw of a guy say, we're just having one. It was many years ago. I lived in South Korea, and this is, going back like 15 years. But the guy came into this bar, and him and his buddy were having an afternoon beer. And he went up and down explaining to us, he was an Irish guy, explaining to us how he was just going to have one. It was a social thing to do. We're just having the one beer, and then it's home and a good dinner, watch a bit of TV. It was like he had planned it all out in his head. Like, I'm not going to drink. I'm just going to have the one. He was saying it to us as though he was saying it to himself. Like, I can do this. I could do this. Well, of course, one turns into two, and two turns into three. And by the time we leave the bar, because we've had our kind of afternoon drinks and we're like, all right, let's move on. They're still there. They're tucking into like their sixth. And it's like, oh, it's going to go badly for this guy. It turned out that the story of that guy and that night became the stuff of legends. They rolled on to another place, because I knew this guy. He traveled in our circle. And he was a major booze head. He was a degenerate drunk. And he was one of those guys that when they get drunk, they turn into a real obnoxious jerk. And he doesn't know it. You know, that's his drunk character. And all I ever saw was the drunk character. People would always say to me, oh, he's such a nice guy. I was like, I avoid him like the plague, because every time I see him, he's out on the town, he's hammered, and he's belligerent and rude and forceful. He's like, oh, just no thank you. And this was the first time I watched him. And I thought to myself, I could see all the signs, because, you know, it takes one to know one. I was like, this guy he's a pisshead. And they rolled on. They didn't get in until the sun came up. In Korea, you can go all night. I remember there was a bar called Ricky Martin. That was they cared not for copyright or trademark. That was the bar, Ricky Martin, and Ricky Martin would serve you until 6 a.m. People liked it. They were like, let's go to Ricky Martin. They'll serve us till 6. And you're like, really? Is that a good idea? It was back then, though. We were all around 30, so you can handle it back then. Anyway, this clown, he would have needed 3 or 4 days to get over that hangover. It was epic. And I love how it started with a speech about, I'm just going to have one. Just one. That's what I said to myself, too. So I know that game. I know that little I know that little thing where you say, oh, I'm just going to have one, because it's never really one. But I did it last week, and I was all cheeky and, rambling into my phone as I am now. And anyway, I did manage to cut it off. I didn't like to. I didn't want to. But things went pear-shaped. And so that's basically the way the week ended up going. And this is the whole thing about when you have anxiety and anxiety drives you to drink, And I don't want to say, I have anxiety, because it seems like everyone has anxiety these days. Yeah, it's called being over 30, basically. That's like life just gets too hard. And that's what it is. And it's no excuse, What happens is you've got a knee-jerk reaction to self-medicate because you're finding just the day-to-day grind of things difficult to deal with. And that's exactly it. When you're raising a family and trying to keep your house together, that's exactly it. So my whole MO at all times is keep the anxiety low, give yourself lots of time to do things. I'm taking this period in time of my life right now to just try and focus on being a dad. I'm not working so hard on my career. I'm not working so hard on making money and chasing after it and spending all my time trying to make money. I've made it in the past, and I'm kind of living off it now. That's, if you must know, how does this guy get to sleep in on a Monday? That's why. But, man, what a shift I had this weekend. So, yeah, just going back to last week, it just started to go rotten right after the Wednesday night. As I was having those beers, I had a couple in the afternoon. It wasn't one, of course, right? I was 2 or 3, and I started feeling good. All right, let's get cooking the dinner. I turn on the oven, and I notice as the kids are having their bath that the oven is taking ages to heat up. And I've got my chicken all done in the flour and the cumin, and it's in the oven. It's waiting for the big show. And the oven is not heating up, and it's taking ages. And I'm looking at it, and all of a sudden they come down and they're hungry. And I'm like, the oven is at half the temperature. It's been on for 40 minutes. I Googled it later. The oven's crapped out. Basically, the oven is crapped out, and I have a repairman coming tomorrow. And that's par for the course with all the appliances in this house, because they had all been installed about 12 years prior to me buying it. And now that's 6 years ago. So yeah, do the math on any appliance. Every time anything breaks, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. That's exactly what I'm owed right now. Hang on. Pow. So anyway, how frustrating is that? I mean, my whole life is trying to be about cooking good food for my family, trying to make these nice low-carb dinners that are nutritious so that we all meet at 5:30 and eat together as a family. Now the oven's crapped out, and the cooktop is on its way too. One of the burners, it's what they call an induction cooktop, and one of the burners, there's 4 of them, and one intermittently comes on and off. And it's do you get it a repairman, or do you just bite the bullet on that and go, yeah, it's time for that to get changed too? So I walk around this house like a maintenance man, basically. Just prior to sitting down and turning on the phone here, I was sticking those little safety plug things in various outlets that I found that I caught my son trying to stick his finger in yesterday. And I thought I'd got them all, but I hadn't. So I was running around doing that, vacuuming, changing bed sheets, and siliconing the bathtub handle that turns the tub on and off, which they use every day. Yeah, it falls right off. Every time you grab it, it just falls off. So I was trying to Band-Aid it with silicone, but I know I'm going to need a new one of them, and I don't know. Do I have to go to the shop? Do I have to buy it? I feel like I might be able to do that. Maybe I need a plumber. I don't know. I put to-do lists together. I try to do a crack at it myself, and then sometimes if I don't get anywhere, I have to get the big guns in. But then that's a trip. That's you saying, I'm going to take time this day. I'm going to drive over there. I'm going to have to talk to some guy with a little smock on. You know what I mean? He's going to have to point out a number of products. I'm going to get confused. I'll come home. Maybe it'll fit. Maybe I'll have the wrong one. You know what it's like. It's never ending. You're a maintenance man around your house. So anyway, the combination of the oven crapping out, then I had to shut down the boozing that night. And the following day, everyone was at school. I had a nice little window of time. And what do you think I did? You know, I got on that stuff. I did my sneaky little trip to the shop. I got it. My wife came home. I was like, look, it's Thursday. We're almost there. So we got into it. We got into it that afternoon, that night kind of thing. And it ended in me ordering a pizza at 9 o'clock at night. I did that move. How's that for low carb? Okay. I'm coming clean here though. I'm not hiding. Okay. That's what happened on Thursday. Then we get through the weekend, because the weekend is such hard work. The kids are home. You have no respite, right? We tend to, what we found now is divide and conquer. So she'll take one. I take the little guy generally. And we're off to the park, walking in the rain. Yeah, we had fun. We had fun in the park, and it was fun looking after him. But, you know, by the time you get to Sunday afternoon, it feels like it's been the longest, you know, stint of your whole life. Just the monotony of these children running around the house, cleaning. And so what do you think I did? What does a good boozer do? Just like that clown back in Korea, I said to myself, I can have one this afternoon. You know, it'd been a couple days since Thursday now, right? It's all the way in Sunday. I'll have one this aft. One while they're all out. Aren't I a nice guy cooking dinner again? Don't forget about the oven. Got to do a workaround on that. I'll have one in the afternoon. No problem. Yeah. How do you think that worked out? Well, I told you how this morning was. So that's what a drinker does. They drink. They drink when they're upset. They drink when they're happy. They drink when they're nervous. They drink when they're in a social situation. They drink when they're alone. You know, and I don't need cigarettes any longer to enjoy it. I like the taste. I like the feeling of it. And I think I was celebrating the fact that I'd made it through the weekend. And I'd been such a good boy looking after everyone and done all this stuff. And I deserve it. That's what you always say. I deserve this. I've been so good. I deserve this. And it's the Sunday afternoon, I deserve it, that turns into the late Sunday night. You never want to shut it down, and then turns into the call-in sick on Monday. And that's pretty much the move that I just did. And now I've got the anxiety, depression. I'm staring at the clock. It's 1:30. I got to go pick up my daughter in about an hour and a bit. And all I've managed to do today is get up and kind of do a couple things around the house. And I've got that kind of dread feeling that you get when you're kind of shaky and you've drank. Ugh, it's brutal, man. It's depressing, and I wish I hadn't have done it, but there's, you know, this is the situation now. This is just what I have to deal with. This is the situation. So, you know, I'm walking you through the reality of what it's like when you make these goals for yourself and then you fall short on them because you give in to temptation. You give in to, you know, things get out of control. You slip, you backslide. So now it's a beautiful day. It was raining all weekend. I was stuck in the house. You know, all these things went out of control. I had a number of things kind of fall apart last week. Appointments that couldn't get kept. And I think it all just added up. And of course, you know, a week prior to that, I said, I'm not drinking again, right? I did all the things on that no-go list. Pizza, junk food. I made burgers on Saturday night. Does that count? They were homemade. I don't know. But they had sauce on them. Like, it's amazing how just your goals just fall right away and you just forget them immediately. Like, it's like, no, I'm not drinking anymore. Well, what's that in your hand? Oh, yeah. Well, I mean this. Yeah, I'm drinking, but I'm not. So we carry on. Woke up this morning, boo, 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 boo. And I had to deal with it. I was like, oh no, what did I do? I'm hot. I'm sweaty. I feel sick. I'm nauseous. That drunk guy, he took over. What did he do? He started boozing in the middle of a Sunday afternoon. Well, I just got to write off that morning. I slept in, and now I got to get back on the horse and go pick up my daughter. I'll be a different guy when I go get her and start cooking that dinner, deal with the reality of this repairman coming tomorrow, and just move through the things I got to do and just say, look, it's going to be a healthy, boring dinner tonight. I might even try and do a bit of stretching and a bit of just mild exercises tonight after dinner. It's a move. I've done it sometimes. I do it to self-flagellate as my penance for boozing. It's my form of self-flagellation. I just go into this little room and start doing stretches and lift a couple of dumbbells and do little things to just kind of to do my penance, to say, look, you want to sit in the nice comfy chair and watch the cop show tonight, but instead you're in this room doing stretches, listening to the classic rock, and this is what you get for staying up late last night boozing as though it was like New Year's Eve. Why did you do that? I don't know. Anyway, getting ready to go pick up my daughter, and I don't know if you do. I remember this little trick that I saw the guys on Jersey Shore do. And yes, I did watch Jersey Shore. Me and many millions of other people, okay? I loved it. I love that kind of crap TV. And The Situation was his name. Him and Pauly D, I believe. They had this little trick where they wouldn't put their t-shirt on until just before they went out. They'd leave it right to the last minute. It's a great trick, actually. I do that before, if I'm going traveling or I have to go anywhere to some kind of function. I always pack everything and get the whole suitcase all ready to go. And then I lay out the clothes that I'm going to travel in, and then I quickly take a shower right before I go and then put the clothes on so I'm fresh. And I'm like, that's it, man. I can't go up and down the stairs anymore because I'll start sweating. So this is like, it has to be timed perfectly. The car has to be loaded. And so I'm kind of walking around in my little Superman underoos. It's a sight. Oh God. Only dads can get away with this though. That's a great thing about being a dad. It's like, yep, I'm packing the car in my undies. So that's a move that I do. And I'm doing a similar move right now because I don't want to shower and put on my kind of presentable dad clothes until the last minute. So you can thank The Situation and Pauly D for that one. I think I knew that trick before them, but they gave it a name. They gave it a theme song. It kind of had no melody. They just go, it's t-shirt time. No, that actually had a melody. That was more melodic than theirs. Speaking of melody, I listened back to my Keith Urban ramble, and yikes. There was some interesting notes that I sang in there. Anyway, it is what it is. Like, what do you want? This is a free thing. I'm putting it out there for free. I'm trying to be as honest as possible about the situation. Hey, the situation. See, I brought it back to Jersey Shore there. That was awful. With that, let's sign off. I feel better having confessed my sins to you. There will be more self-flagellation throughout the day. I'm going to have to explain this to a number of people in my family when they all come home. And I'm just going to pick myself up and move on. This is what happened. Everybody knows by now this is a thing that I do, and I'm going to try to not do it. I got to get some runs on the board. But yeah, that's how hard it is. You know, you start out a week ago saying, that's it. From now on, I'm not doing any of this stuff. And a week later, you're like, fell off the wagon pretty bad. You can't make things too hard for yourself because that's what happens. You just wind up having a blowout. I have one more quick story about that. I had a buddy back in the Korea days. He'd put on a ton of weight over, slowly over a couple of years from boozing all the time and eating all that food, just the dinners and the night out and the nightlife. And he'd gone from a really fit guy to a pretty chubby dude. And so he was like, I gotta turn this around. So he went on a all water, I don't know, it's some kind of fast thing that's like a thing, okay, where you just drink water. I think it's paprika and ginger and lemon juice, maybe. I don't know. It's a weird little thing like that, and that's all you're allowed to drink. I've tried just going, like, say, a whole day on nothing but a smoothie. Oh, man, you get funky. You start getting the shakes. It's awful. Your body needs food. I think it needs that kind of the sensation of chewing. So anyway, he tried this, and he made it about 36 hours. And when he fell off the wagon, I've never seen a guy go so hard. It was like somebody invited him out for dinner, and he did that thing, the all-night thing. Like, he went out, I think he fell off the wagon like quite late at night, and man, you didn't see that guy for like 3 days. Like, he went out for a giant barbecue, followed by drinking, followed by something else, probably followed by McDonald's breakfast, followed by 18 hours of sleep. Like, that's the problem with when you make it too hard for yourself, when you have these, what I call the New Year's Eve resolutions. Starting tomorrow, I'm never going to do it again. It never works. It's just, you're just setting yourself up. So I think obviously I went into last week with too many restrictions already. That was, whatever that was too much, because I made it to, was it Wednesday when I had Wednesday having a beer, Thursday boozer, and then another one on Sunday. That's no good. Can't do that. All right, here we are in the second part of this weekly podcast. In this show, I'm calling it Elvis in Pictures, and I'm not sure whether or not this will be an ongoing series or whether it's just today's topic, but let's just get straight into it. I just watched the Elvis documentary that's on Netflix. It's called The Searcher, and fantastic. Really, really in-depth look at Elvis's life. It taught me a lot of stuff that I didn't know about Elvis, and to put it into it's just great. I really recommend it. So if you're listening thus far, obviously you're curious enough about Elvis, because I'm going to title this episode Elvis in Pictures, so that's what you're here for. So anyway, it's on Netflix. It's called The Searcher. It's a 2-part series. They're both about an hour and a half long, and it starts right at the beginning of his career, of his life. It tells his whole story, and then ends up, in 77 when he died. And they don't really go into too much about, how big he got at the end. And I've seen a documentary on him at the very end that was very sad, because it showed his final performance, and he was sweating and nervous. And I remember he says, I faked guitar playing all these years. I've done pretty well. He was a very, I think, sympathetic guy, and he just seemed so sweet and wholesome and genuinely nice. And I think, and I've heard that from a lot of the guys that hung out with him, guys even in the service when he was in the military, and friends throughout his life. They said that he was very generous. He bought them Cadillacs all the time and stuff. They said he was just a really generous guy. And, he liked to put peanut butter on fried chicken. Come on. Who doesn't? That's a move, man. We call that the Elvis. Look, he unfortunately turned into a bit of a caricature of himself. And it's kind of an ironic thing in the documentary, because Tom Petty is one of the ongoing voices that kind of narrate Tom Petty and Bruce Springsteen, two of my favorite guys. And I know with Springsteen, he can be divisive. You either love him or you hate him. Kind of based on Born in the USA, I think. But I love him. I'm a Springsteen nut. I think he's fantastic, and I think he's genuine and sincere in what he writes about, and same with Tom Petty. But what was sad about the Tom Petty narration is that Tom starts talking about how Elvis needed pills to wake up and pills to go to sleep, and Tom paints a sympathetic picture of Elvis, talks about him, where you do empathize with what Elvis had to go through in order to do those rigorous dates and to keep up that grueling performing schedule, and the whole movie time, and how he slowly became addicted and it eventually killed him. And what happened to Tom Petty? When Tom died a few years ago, at first I thought it had to be cancer, because all the footage I would see of Tom, old and new, he always had a cigarette in his hand. There's some old stuff back in the 70s, and his front teeth are so yellow from smoking. He must have got that cleaned up over the years, because they weren't like that by the end. But I was sure they were going to say smoking, cancer got him, and it wouldn't have surprised me, because Bowie got cancer and died about the same age. I think Bowie was 69 and Tom was 67. It was a surprise, but I was like, yeah, well, smoking, man. He smoked like a chimney. It kills you. But it turned out when the news came out, it was that opioid thing. It was with Tom. I think he had just taken a little bit too much, and that stuff. Apparently, Tom had a hip problem, and I don't know if you know this or not, but the story that I've heard is that he had like a fractured hip, and he was in a brutal amount of pain, and he was just at home in his place in LA, and he'd just been kind of self-medicating on this, painkiller, fentanyl type stuff. The same crap that got Prince, the same crap that got, I think Whitney Houston to a degree. It's not just this isn't just a guy thing. Everybody, right? We know about the opioid epidemic in the States. We've all heard of it. And there it was. It's gotten a bunch of our fave people. Poor Whitney. She was young. She was only in her mid 40s. It's addiction. And that's what we were talking about in the first half of this. So I think it's fitting that I do Elvis in Pictures today because of addiction. And anyway, it's a theme, right? And it got Elvis, and then it ended up getting Tom. And I want to sorry, I just blasted that in the phone there. I was getting emotional. Thinking about Elvis in Pictures, and the reason why I called it that is because I understand what Elvis went through. And I think you can. Everybody goes through a period in their life where they get so bogged down in their commitments and the minutia of just keeping up with day-to-day commitments that they actually lose sight of the thing that they want to do and have lost it, and it becomes a grind. And that happened to all of us in Korea when I was teaching over there, and you would get to a point where your schedule would get so filled with these kind of lucrative private English lessons that it didn't matter anymore because you had no time to spend the money. So it was wonderful that you're making all this money, but what good is any of it if you have no time to spend it and you have no life because you're working, from the minute you wake up in the morning, you're buzzing around town, you don't get home till late at night doing all these private lessons. You're always sick with a cold because you're always staying up late, essentially forcing yourself to be on and using that frontal lobe, right? Like sitting so painfully with a kid going, what does that word there say? No, we pronounce it laugh. L-A-U-G. I know, it's weird spelling. It's laugh. Try saying that with me. No, stop looking out the window, Taeyeon. Taeyeon, stop playing with it. Just give me your phone, Taeyeon. Sorry, that was my impression of teaching a private lesson. A teacher for money. And it's a grind, and we all, every one of us who did that grind ended up eventually getting over it and experiencing burnout, and we just were like, it's not worth it. And by the end, people would just say, I don't do those anymore. It's not worth it. The extra $1,000 a month or whatever it is I'm making from them, it's not worth it to never have a weekend, to never have downtime. And downtime is crucial, and we can become a hamster on a wheel to the point where we just, it's counterproductive. What's that term? Diminishing returns, to spend all that time and energy doing something, you've lost your creative spark. And that's what they said happened to Elvis when he went into the movies. He started doing all these movies, and he just for years and years couldn't get off it. But then there was another term that I learned teaching in Korea, and that was the golden handcuffs. And the golden handcuffs is when it's just too good to turn away, And I met a guy who lived in a kind of rural town, and he was teaching English at a school, and his pay was, let's say percentage-wise, say 35% higher than everyone else in a big city. So they're essentially paying you to be out there in the sticks. And it was such a great job. The pay was really good, all kinds of benefits, and they treated him really well, which was rare for some schools. It was also a known thing to get treated like crap, never be able to take sick days, and they'd always ask you to do extra stuff. There's all kinds of things with that racket. But typically, the more far-flung the place, quite often, the better it was. And that was the case. And this guy, he told me about the golden handcuffs. And I thought, it's a good expression, man. And I think, Elvis, he spent his whole career in golden handcuffs, and he spent his whole career chasing that huge amount of money that he was getting, because he was just such a magnet for money, and they just kept exploiting him in any way possible. And you would hear him say, there's a great quote, I think it's in the first episode, where he talks about money. And he says, it's the first or second, it doesn't matter. He blew up so young in his career, so he had money right from day one. He bought Graceland when he was like 21 or something, really young. And he had it before he even went in the service. So he'd already blown up. He had all this money. And there's a quote of him on the phone with somebody, and he says, what's the point of all this money if you don't have happiness? Happiness is the thing that that money can't buy. And you can have a big house, and you can have fancy cars, and you can have all this stuff, but if you're not happy, what good is, you're no better off, right? You really are no better off. It's health and happiness are really the two things that you need, and you can't really have happiness unless you have your health. Well, I don't know, maybe some might argue differently. Actually, people living with ongoing physical things might argue with that, but I mean, I certainly find when my health is in the crap house, I am miserable, which is why I am on a steady regime of pouring booze down my neck twice a week. Sorry, that's sarcasm. Elvis, talking about Elvis in pictures, Elvis seemed to spend most of his life trying to get back to the joy of just playing music, that joy that he had right at the very beginning of his career when he was driving around in an old car with a stand-up bass, strapped to the roof of the car. And they said they really did that cliched look. That's what he really did, driving around Tennessee in these rural areas in this circuit that he played all these live shows. But I know what it's like to play live quite often, and you do hone your chops. You do become you get kind of a shtick going, and it's addictive, man. It's addictive, getting that rush of getting up in front of a crowd and being able to entertain and put a smile on their face and share joy and get them actually to stand up and dance to the music that you're playing and you're dancing along with them. I mean, there's very few there's very few things in life that will give you that kind of elation, that feeling, that buzz, mountain biking down a big hill when there's berms and tabletop jumps. That's similar. Water skiing or wakeboarding. That's what it feels like. That's what playing on a stage, having people look up at you. It's similar joy, and I think Elvis was always trying to get back to that joy, but unfortunately, because he was such a cash cow for everybody, I think he felt that he didn't want to let people down. He just kept doing that. Now, we can compare that to times in our life because I have been through that. I went through a period in time where I had the golden handcuffs and the checks were coming in and they were just too big, and I had a staff working for me, and that's the time in my life where my weight skyrocketed and my drinking was even worse than it is now. I mean, it was I don't even want to admit the schedule that I was on in terms of the gluttony, but I've experienced that burnout and the joylessness of just churning out whatever it is, the content or the thing is that you're doing. I've had it multiple times because I had burnout, like I said, when I was going around being a private teacher, a teacher for money. And I've had it multiple times, and I'm seeing it now in the online world. I'm seeing a lot of people that are falling into that trap, and I see them on YouTube, people that I follow on YouTube, and I don't even think that these people know that that's what they're doing. But YouTube as an ecosystem will do that to people. It will turn you from a channel where you did gaming and you loved gaming until now you're just doing reaction videos to watching someone pour hollandaise sauce over an Egg McMuffin, and you're going, oh, wow, I would love to eat that. Like, that's a genre. I hate to say it, but that's out there, and they get a lot of views. And, there's a lot of people who are, to use this phrase now, content creators, and I don't think they're really thinking so much about the stuff they're making as just trying to get eyeballs on their stuff. It's crap to be made for crap's sake, purely for the sake of money, and there's nothing creative about it. And I don't know how you could have any joy in that process because you're just constantly pivoting to chase an algorithm. That's all you're doing now. You're just, it's a sausage factory. And I'm not going to say names of these people that are doing the sausage factory, but there's a lot of them out there. I mean, if they're on YouTube and they have, say, upwards of 2 million subscribers, they're probably already playing that game because they know what that algorithm does and how you have to play it. You have to play the hits, man. You gotta play the cover tunes. And if the hit of the day is reaction video or Minecraft or whatever it is, it's congratulations. Now you're Elvis in pictures. Okay, you've just become what Elvis did. And it burned him out, and it will inevitably burn out anybody who does that for long enough. But there's a thing that a lot of them always say when you get stuck on this treadmill of just cranking out all this content onto all your different channels and everything, and then what happens is you start getting problems. So now you need a lawyer, and now you always end up embroiled in some sort of legal dispute and some sort of problem where you have to fight it, and that takes up time, and you're communicating with a lawyer, so that's taking up your resources. And look, this happens all the time. I hear tons of these guys say it, and the thing that they always say is, I just want to get back to doing the thing I do, making content, but you're spending all this time and energy dealing with all this other crap. And that's that's what happens when you complicate your life too much. And I experienced that. I've been trying for years to simplify my lifestyle and get away from doing things that I don't want to do, and trying to put systems in place and get rid of things that are just, to me, time wasters. But it's amazing how quickly they come back and they suck up your time. Like all of a sudden, your oven now is the top of your priority list, or something that you never expected is now something that you have to do. And that's the way life goes. It just keeps throwing you these curveballs. So the last thing you want to do is voluntarily complicate your life and take on more things, like, say, extra teaching work when you don't really need it, or commit to some other social media platform. Like, I started my Instagram channel today, and in kind of a slight excitement and slight resentment, I did my first upload and I was like, man, this is hard. Am I going to do this every day? Like, I got to stand in front of this thing and figure out their operating system, and for what? Like, to ultimately get views on a podcast. Like, I'm trying to figure out how it's even how all of these social medias even benefit you. And I think sometimes it's just FOMO, like you got the fear of missing out if you're not on all these platforms. But the question is really, are they even important? Well, that's Elvis in pictures, and you don't want to become Elvis in pictures. So don't be him. Say no to things. I heard even Lady Gaga say that in something. She said she was getting burnt out, and she was overworked. I doubt underpaid, but certainly overworked. It happens to all of them. And, just like Whitney and Tom and Elvis and all those guys, you start leaning on a crutch, on whatever that thing is that you need to just make it all right, mother's little helper, as Mick and Keith called it. Now I totally understand why women got addicted to Valium in the 60s, because or housewives, that was what they'd said, right? That was what that song was about. And I can understand that, I'm running around chasing my tail every day. It's a beat the clock. I think I did that joke already in a previous one. Anyway, look, don't be Elvis in pictures. This is, I'm going to play a little song here. The one my favorite Elvis one, if I were to pick one that I always think of as Elvis. Now, again, I don't have time to wiki this, okay, and type it into Google and know for sure, but I'm quite sure, based on what I remember, Willie Nelson wrote this one, but it fit perfect for Elvis for when his marriage fell apart. Let's get it right. Guitar's a little out of tune, but it's maybe I didn't love you quite as much as I could have. Maybe I didn't treat you quite as good as I should have. Now, what's really neat about this song is he's throwing in an E major chord. I'm playing it in D, out of tune. Goes to the E major, which is 2 notes up. It's essentially modulated, but it doesn't feel like it. If I made you feel second best, girl, I'm sorry I was behind. Now, here's a weird thing. The whole chorus is on the 5 chord. You were always on my mind, resolving on the root. You were always on... All right, I don't want to get done for copyright. Always on my mind. Willie wrote it. Elvis did it so beautifully, his beautiful voice. I love the part in that Elvis special where Elvis talks about Bob Dylan, and Bob came along and just blew the whole scene apart. And Elvis was stuck doing movies during this time. And he's thinking to himself, look, there's a young guy who's really changing music. And Bob wrote all of his own songs. And Elvis didn't really write much. He always, did covers. And they say that Elvis was really impressed by Bob Dylan's songwriting and everything, and the impact that he was having on new music. But they made a point of saying he didn't like his voice, which I love. Like, let's be clear, make no mistake, Elvis didn't like Bob Dylan's voice. I think Dylan would be pissed off about that, because I'm quite sure that Dylan would have been a fan of Elvis. Of all the things I've ever heard Dylan talk about other artists, he's always pretty gracious. He always, I've never heard Dylan really say crappy stuff about anyone. When asked about them, he loves Gordon Lightfoot. He loved John Prine. That's what I love about Dylan for being the master that he is. He also is very gracious with his compliments of other people, and he accepts that there's still lots to learn out there, even though he changed everything. I'm going to wrap it up. Always on My Mind is a really great song, sung by a great dude, Elvis. I recommend that show, The Searcher. Is that what it's called? I don't know. Just type in Elvis in Netflix. Look, I came clean in the first half of this, and I know what I got to do, and all I can say is I'm going to do my best. I'm trying to simplify my life. I'm trying to eat healthy. I'm trying to exercise and be a great father and a great husband and a good son. But, there's a guy who's very divisive these days, Jordan Peterson. And some people worship him, and some people think that he's a misogynist. He's been called everything. I'm not going to weigh in. But I have watched a number of his things, and I've taken some good advice from it about self-help and fixing things in your life. And he talks about, there was one clip that I'd heard him talk about people who have addictions. And what happens when you pile anxiety and a workload on someone that they feel that they can't handle is they will blow out at their weakest point. And what he means by that is if you already like to drink and then you add copious amounts of stress onto someone who feels like they can't handle that stress, that's the point where they're going to blow out, is they're going to just turn to the alcohol. And I felt that in all my most stressful times of my life, I've always turned to the alcohol. Why am I doing it now? Habitual, hard to give up, a mindset where the mind is not ready to, it's what they call cognitive dissonance, where you believe that it's fun, but you also believe it's bad for you and it'll kill you. And that dissonance, those two conflicting beliefs, make you uncomfortable because you can't figure out which one is it. And that's the state that most addicts are in. And until you get the mind sorted, you're not going to change your habits. And that's the thing that I'm working on. As they say, one day at a time. It's ironic about Jordan Peterson, by the way, because he says people blow out at their weakest point, and then within probably a year of him hitting his top note, he blew out so catastrophically. I think he went up to Russia and had to he went completely off the public eye. He was hooked on anti-anxiety medication. I mean, he had a rough go of it, and I think that actually lends credibility to the very thing that he said, because I think he always, he was taking these anti-anxiety pills for a while throughout, over decades or whatever. And eventually it just, it got out of control and he dropped right off the face of the public sphere for a full year and recently. And look, that's what happens. you blow out at your weakest point, and it happened even to him. Let's just move on. Let's try to not be Elvis in pictures and stick to our joy. I'm going to go. That was good talking at you.